Okay. Do I start now to introduce or when you make
No,
it
no, no.
live?
I'll just give a brief. No, no. I'll give a brief about what we do and then we'll start. Okay, we are live. Okay. So, welcome back to another episode of We Do More Wednesdays. This is Sajid Kumar Swaminathan here. As part of the program for the last 2 weeks, what I've been trying to do is trying to get a lot of job seekers familiarized with how the interviews work in Canada, right? These are not only issues that people who migrate to Canada have, but also typically if you have not interviewed for a long period of time, there's certain changes in the interviewing style and the kind of techniques that people are using just to ensure that everybody is updated on what's happening in the recruitment space or the hiring space. So that was the whole idea. Last week, I had a candidate who I interviewed, in the sense I asked him a particular set of questions. I've been trained in the top graded interview method. It's a method to evaluate a cultural fit of a candidate as much as the hard skills. Also evaluate the soft skills of the candidate. Looks at whether the candidate is a good cultural fit to the organization. Sometimes even the team. The reason I'll give you a scenario where we were looking at a uh, director of data science, and the CTO and the VP of engineering liked the candidate. So he had 2 rounds of interview, and then uh, he had one more round with the team. Now, the team did not like his leadership style, right? So, before I went to do the search again, I just thought, let me have a discussion with the team to understand the kind of culture or the kind of leadership that the team would like in that particular person before I restart my search. The objective was, I did not want to again go and identify a candidate and then find out whether that person was not a great leader or a cultural fit. So that was the whole idea. So I've been trained in the top graded interview method, where the objective is to look at those candidates. And even though you might have a great candidate with all the right kind of keywords and all the kind of hard skills, sometimes for some roles, it's very important also to see whether this person is a great cultural fit also, right? So the objective of the top graded method is that to identify such kind of candidate. Now, one of the important questions that I get is, I did very well in the interview process. I don't know what happened. I didn't get a feedback after that, right? And then people start to doubt on their own skill set. They think that, okay, my skills are not great enough. That is not the case. Most often, what happens is you haven't prepared for the interview well enough. That is one challenge. The second challenge is where the competition is so high, where the hiring managers have a lot of options to decide, and they say, okay, I've seen 2 candidates, let me see another candidate. And between those 3 or 4 very good candidates, they might make a choice of whom they want to give the offer. Now, a lot of factors can go behind that particular decision. How did you do in the interview? Your soft skills. You might be great on paper, in the sense you might have the right kind of experience, but certain answers that you had given might not be what the hiring manager was looking for, either in terms of depth, or again, like I mentioned, in terms of a culture fit. So that your role as an interviewee is to eliminate all those negative aspects. Find out. So if you had an opportunity to do enough rounds, or to have enough um, chances of interviews and improve on each interview, that would have been great. But in the current business environment that we are in, it is very difficult to get interviews. And once you get those 2 or 3 or 4 interviews, then you have to ensure that you get it right in the first go. So the objective is to prepare well in advance, do 1 or 2 mock interviews, so that while you're doing a search, if you get an opportunity, then you have prepared well enough that you clear the interview round itself. So that is the objective of this particular session. is to help you understand what kind of questions are being asked, why they ask those kind of questions. This is more of a behavioral kind of interview session, and that is the whole objective. So today we have a guest here, Metasite, who has volunteered to be in the hot seat and let me interview her. I know it's not very easy to be interviewed online, but she thought that she wanted to take up this opportunity. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Sajid Kumar. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, yes.
All right. So, my name is Metzait Nagash. I have more than 15 years of work experience and doing IT support and system administration.
Okay, Metasite has a issue. Let's wait until she comes back. So most of us know that the first question that everybody is going to be asked is tell me about yourself, or even though people know, people, the hiring manager or the recruiter sees your profile, that is the first question that they're going to ask, right? Tell me about yourself. Are you audible, Metasite? Metasite, are you audible? You can speak now. Okay, we'll wait until she comes. Okay. So uh, typically for that question, right, tell me about yourself, I normally tell people to have it prepared, well thought about for 3 minutes, and then reduce it to 1.5 to 2 minutes. Who you are, which companies you have worked, what has been your role. Don't forget to list one or two achievements. What are you passionate about, right? That helps the hiring manager. Something that is, do not read exactly the same things from the resume. Something that is different, something that the hiring manager has not heard, would be an interesting, you also have to make the whole process interesting, right? It, and all that comes based on the conversation that you have. What are your answers? And based on the answers is what the hiring manager or the recruiter asks the next question. So the important task is to ensure that you keep the answers very clear, short, and also engaging. So that is one of the objectives in setting the stage. The first question is, tell me about yourself, is to set the stage about yourself and how you want the interview to be conducted. If you're not comfortable even in the first basic question to tell about yourself, the biggest challenge comes next is when it goes to the tougher questions. About, they're not only going to ask what is in your resume, they're also going to ask you how you have done the things that you have claimed, right? I remember a client who had 9 rounds of interview for the overall process. He met all the um, senior folks in the company. He met the hiring manager, met the team. So in towards the seventh or eighth round, he asked me, "Hey Sajid, do you have any clue as to how many more rounds? What are they going to ask me?" It looks as if the company knows more about me than I know about myself. So that was okay. Just a minute. Um, I believe our candidate is having a problem. Just let me check and come back. Okay, she's come again on stage. Okay, how I how is it
I,
now?
I apologize. It's a technical issue on my side.
No problem. No
Uh,
problem. Things happen.
yeah, hopefully now it's should be good. Okay, all right. Can you repeat me your question because I got lost and I got
No, the first
disconnected?
question is tell me about yourself. So introduce yourself first, and then we'll take it from there.
All right. So to start again, so my name is Metzait Nagash. I have more than 15 years of work experience doing system administration and IT support. And then after working for this long, I decided to specialize. So I went back to school to do my master's degree in engineering in computer networks at the Toronto Metropolitan University. Uh, I went back to school full time. So I had to quit my full time job. So I have graduated, and now I'm looking for my how would I say in my special with my master's degree. I'm looking for a new job in terms like a network engineer or cybersecurity analyst. And I would like to add that I speak fluently French and English, and I also teach on a part-time basis French. As how would I say in a nutshell?
Oh, great. So bilingual has additional benefit in the sense there are certain companies who look at uh, bilingual candidates because of the clients that they have, right? So that is an added advantage. I did try to learn French. I joined the course and I was there only for 2 days, I believe. And after 2 days, I knew that I couldn't try learning the language. Great that you have both the languages there. Walk me through. Let's take the last 2 or 3 roles. Walk me through what was your role there and how would you highlight one achievement in those roles?
All right. So to go back to my to the how do I say like the first role from the last three I had. So I was working as a bilingual service desk analyst for Toyota Canada. So I was part of a team that we were providing level one and level two support for all internal Toyota employees and as well all Toyota and Lexus dealers. But for the Toyota and Lexus dealers, we were providing support only in terms of application wise. That means the internal Toyota applications. However, for the internal employees, we are providing IT level one, like I mentioned, level one and level two IT support for all the internal systems. Uh, and, and then as well, I was in charge of system administration tasks, such as I was the only one from the team who had Lotus Notes access. So I was in charge of creating Lotus Notes accounts. This is yes, it's an old system, but for some users in some departments, they had to use Lotus Notes, and as well, I was given ServiceNow administrator access. So I was also in charge of going to ServiceNow because we were using ServiceNow as a ticketing system. I was in charge of creating reports by our manager, and then the manager would ask, giving me how they say like certain criterias, and then I will go to ServiceNow and generate reports and provide that to our manager. And then our manager will compile that and then brief the upper level management. So this is what I would I say in a short, summary. That was my first role, and then I moved on to a different sector. I moved on to the animation sector. I was working for an animation studio, which was mainly based in Vancouver, the headquarters, and then they decided to open, how do I say, like a virtual office for Ontario. So I was in charge of providing IT support for employees who work in Ontario and then Eastern Canada. And in that company, what I really liked about it, I have used a Linux operating system back in school when I was doing my bachelor's degree. But in the animation studio, it's the first time, how would I say, that I use Linux in a work environment. So that was, how would I say, a challenge to go back to use Linux operating system. But I really enjoyed that. And then learning a completely different sector, the different softwares that they use, the different hardware requirements. that the animation sector uses. That was a quite interesting experience. And then my last job before I went back to school full time, I went back to the automotive sector, and I was working for Hyundai Canada as a bilingual technical IT technical support, and I was in charge of, I would say, level 1 to 3. There,
Okay, we lost Meta again. So when she answered that question regarding um, what she had done, right? Now, if it is going to be a lengthy answer where you have to give multiple solutions, then you need to ensure how you're going to pace it. What is of importance? Now, if your current role um, is the most relevant to the job that you're applying for, you need to focus on that role more than you focus on the other role. So when you prioritize that, you realize that she started off with the third role and then moved to the. I would have done it a little different. I'm not saying what she did was wrong, but I would have done it a little different. Is I would have started with my current role which is relevant to the job that I'm applying. I would spend a little more time on that because it shows relevance, and also I have the attention of the hiring manager for that, right? Because as it gets lengthy, as the conversation gets lengthier, the attention span of the hiring manager also tapers down. So I, rather than spending more time on the third experience and then move to the second and first, I would start with the first experience and then move to the second and third. That would have been my approach, just because of the relevance of okay, let's say that my third role is relevant, but my first one is more relevant than my third one. I would want the hiring manager to understand why my current experience is very valuable to the company. So you need to start strong in certain areas and then move from there, right? We're still having issues, huh? Go ahead.
yes, I'm sorry, but
No problem, no problem.
yeah, it
Yeah, go
keeps
ahead.
on reloading.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I will wrap up what was I was saying about my last job. So I was also in charge of identity access management, meaning creating AD accounts, creating mailboxes, whether it's on the local mail server or whether it's on Office 365, and as well creating security groups, distribution lists, adding users to the right security groups or removing them. And then as well on SharePoint, I had SharePoint admin access. So I was also there in charge of adding the users to the right group so that they have the required access. And all this was done through a Jira ticketing system. And for any request, for any request asking for, we would always go through the employees managers approval. So that was also handled through Jira. So this is what
Mhm.
I would say in short was my duties at my last role.
Okay. Now, you mentioned you have worked in the automotive sector and you have worked in the gaming sector. So two sectors to highlight your skills. You have worked on level two, tier one and tier two um, support. So the advantage of that is that you have multiple level of experience. You didn't highlight or touch upon the tier 3. I would have liked you to focus on the technical aspects of that, in the sense, I would have liked you to highlight on your tier 3 experience also, because you have worked on tier 3. Even if you're applying for tier 2 roles, right, where it is tech support level 2, I would have wished that you highlighted your level 3 experience where you would have done a little bit of coding or programming or even some kind of automation, right? Have you done that in your level 3 role where you have done a little bit of automation in the process?
Yes, a little bit, not much, but a little bit of automation using PowerShell.
Yes. So why that is important is because let's say the company that you're applying is also not looking at automation, but that would be top priority of the hiring manager, maybe in the next 6 months, or even if it is 1 year, right? The fact that you have a level 3 experience is always an advantage. So never miss out on the small details that will improve your chances of clearing an interview, right? Not mentioning your, even if it is a short experience, not highlighting or not mentioning your level 3 experience is not good, right? So you must have, okay, these are the points that I will highlight and I will touch upon. It all depends upon the job description, but even if you're applying for level 2 support, I would highlight my level 3 experience.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, great. And good that you mentioned about your experience in Linux. I have worked very early in my career using C, and I understand the challenges that working in a Unix environment. They are very, right now there will be very few companies which use mainframes a lot, which have the Unix environment. So that is a unique skill where you won't have many people in the current market with those kind of skill set, right? So that though it is good to highlight those kind of skills, right? Which so it pushes you ahead of the competition. All right. Um, Overall, her introduction was great. The how she answered the second question also was good. So, but there are areas of improvement. What I highlighted, right? What do you prioritize when you're giving those facts, right? Because let's say you have a 2 minute or a 3 minute window. In that 3 minute window, you need to understand what are you going to highlight. Within that 3 minutes, are you going to highlight everything, or are you going to um, tell facts that are important? So what you're going to highlight is very key, and this comes with practice, right? The more you practice your interviews, you get better at it. The challenge is you don't get enough opportunities nowadays that, okay, in this interview I got this chance, I performed well, I didn't get it, but I know what I did wrong, so that let me improve on the next interview. We don't get so many chances. So I go to the next question. What is it? In your early
All
roles,
right.
uh, what were you consistently good at when you compare with other people in your organization at the same level? What were you great at, and what evidence do you have to show that you were good at something? Because you mentioned a couple of things in terms of being bilingual. That is an advantage, but apart from that, are there any skills or any accomplishments that you're proud of?
Yes, I would say more like an interpersonal skill. I am sorry, not interpersonal, but just more like a skill. I'm good at attention to details. So often I would, how would I say, at some point, I will give us an example. There were some tickets or issues that were not able to be resolved by other team members. So I was not a team lead, but however, my manager, because she knew that she's seen me over time that I'm good at catching, I would say, little small bugs. She would then escalate the ticket to me, and I most of the time I was able to find what's wrong. So I would say I'm quite good at how would I say, I pay a lot of attention to details. And another thing as well, I would say I'm good at presenting reports. I would say, like in a public setting. For example, at one point early in my career, I was hired as an IT. I was a database junior expert. However, at some point, how would I say, the workload was a little less. And then my manager asked me if I am interested to also participate in uh, how do I say doing research questionnaires. So what I was involved at is looking over the questionnaires and and then how do I say for questions like open ended questions, we would try to summarize it into different options. So that job was more like of the researcher's job. However, I was willing to why not have some more have some more, how would I say, experience on it. And then once the job was done, we had to train the people who do the data entry. Like I said, I was kind of volunteering for that project, but at that time, my colleague, one of my colleagues who was supposed to be presenting, was a bit shy. So the team lead asked me if I'm willing to instead present. And I said, yes, I can present. So I was the one who actually trained the data entry clerks. So
Great.
this is what I would say. Like I would volunteer. I am open to volunteer if my workload is
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
and as well I can.
Okay. We missed her. Let her come back. Um, in the meanwhile, I have a question by Shweta. She asks, in my 7 years of experience as a business analyst, in my interview experience, few recruiters are expecting shorter introduction and many are expecting a longer one with detailed work experience. Which one do we stick on to? Which is the right approach? There is no right or wrong approach. So with a recruiter, what happens is you get hardly 20 to 30 minutes with a recruiter, right? And within that time frame, it is necessary that you explain everything that you have. So um, but just give me a minute. I'm just answering a question that I got from the audience. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So in what happens with the recruiter round is they expect you to be crystal clear as to the questions that they're asking, because they're also taking down notes. Most recruiters, what they do is now with AI, the taking is easier. But as a practice, what I do is I have my top graded questionnaire and I take down points as to what the conversation was and how the points that you have mentioned are relevant to the role. And then along with your resume are the recruiter notes that we send it to the hiring manager for him to then make a shortlist. So Shweta, it is important. So introduction, I would say always stick to 2 minutes, but to make it exactly up to 2 minutes, I would say create a content for 3 minutes and then reduce it to 2 minutes, or ensure that you're then summarizing it to 2 minutes and then you're delivering it. The key point is not the length of the answers, it is how relevant or how important it is also, right? The other one is also your tone. How excited are you about this role? How interested are you in this role, right? What happens is sometimes even with the recruiter, the sorry, due to various reason, the candidate seems very less interested. Let's say there is another candidate who is very interested in this role, seems excited, eager to answer those questions, and they seem very interested in the role. They even ask the recruiter certain questions, right? All those factor in when the recruiter makes a choice about, is this person actually interested in this role and should I submit this to the hiring manager? So Shweta, in terms of length, it's not the length but more often the content. Have you touched upon the industries that you want to highlight? Now, being a business analyst, what are the key tools that you have used? What are the industries that you have worked on? um, how is that relevant to that specific role that you're applying? Now, I'll just give you a very quick example. Now, in your introduction itself, let's say you're applying for a bank and you're talking about in length about your um, non-banking experience or something that is not related at all. The hiring manager is not very keen, because the hiring manager has your resume in front of him or her. they don't want to hear all that. They want to know what is relevant to that role. If you have the similar kind of a domain experience, technology experience, worked on similar kind of projects, those are the things that you need to highlight. I hope I answered that question for you, Shweta. uh, that is it. Just on the next question, you mentioned about some of the things that you did and the successes that you had, or what you perceived as things that you did well in your roles, right? Any struggles or failures that you would highlight in the last one or two roles, because of which you have learned new things, that would also help figure out whether you have been in those similar kind of challenges. Okay, I lost my side again. Let me see. Okay, Shweta, I hope I answered that question. If you have any further questions on that, you can ask me a sub question. I would be happy to answer that. Now, the challenge that most um, okay, website.
Yes, I'm got
Yeah,
disconnected. You were asking me.
yeah, I was asking you in terms of any failures or struggles that you had in the last one or two roles that you took as a challenge and helped you.
Yes. So, I okay. I in one job. The because I was working mainly remotely, the company had built a system so that we could remotely restart in. How would I say servers if we are unable to remote in. So at that company, I had a user who had issue, the system wasn't responding. So what I did is I went to the system. The machine was a Windows one. I went into the system.
Okay, so we are still having technical problems with Metasite. Okay, so I was talking about why those answers need to be relevant, in the sense, now let's say the hiring manager has one question and you need to give the opportunity to discuss on the next couple of questions or sub questions to that, right? How do you give enough hooks in that answer so that they can go to the next question? Go ahead, Metas.
Yeah. So in that job, like I said, I had to log into the system with my admin account and then restart the machine, which was a Windows one. So I restarted it. I informed the user because it's a Windows one, two users can't log in at the same time. So I just informed the user that I have restarted it, and then to log in back. Wait a few minutes and then log in back. However, the user was unable to log in. And then when we tried to connect to the machine, it happened that the machine became a Linux. So what happened is when I restarted it, because we never found out sadly who actually did it. But one of the IT team had selected that machine to the next time it reboots so that it will be reimaged to Linux. So that was how do I say, a very hard lesson to learn, because the mistake was already done. But how do I say, I trusted the system to be accurate, and I did for me what I thought was a simple thing to simply restart. But restarting it actually reimaged the machine to a Linux. So from that lesson, what I learned is never, how they say, like how they say, like, give 100% trust. Make sure to double check something before proceeding, because sometimes when just following the process, we think that things are are as they should be, but sometimes it's not. So at that time, the manager luckily like understood. uh, I mean, he understood the situation, and then the manager decided, said that we need to look into um, the whole, how would I say, like, system, and check if there are any other machine which are already selected to be a reimage for next reboot. We also found some other machines. So due to that incident, we were also able to find other machines and remove that option from those machines. But like I said, that's what I learned, to how does it not rely, always double check something before following a procedure.
Great. Metsat, now three things or three skills that a hiring manager looks for. This is for any typical role is problem solving. How good are you in solving a problem? The second is either team management or your engagement with the team. The third one is continuous learning. Like, do you pick up the skills on your own? And let's say there is a new business challenge. Are you going to wait until the hiring manager says, "Hey, let's say you need to learn this new skills," or are you going to learn those skills on your own, right? So three things that the hiring manager looks for is problem solving, your team building or team experience, and team engagement experience, and the third one is your continuous learning. So you highlighted how you were able to solve a problem and then also uh, helped you learn as a continuous learning problem. So those are skills that every hiring manager looks for, because if you have face a similar kind of challenge or more challenges, will you find the solution on your own? Of course there might be some complex problems which you can't solve, and then you go to the hiring manager, it is fine. But are you going to try and solve those problems on your own and find a solution before you actually go to the hiring manager or for help, right? So those are very good skills that the hiring manager looks for. Now let's move on to the next question. So you have supported hundreds of users with strict SLAs, right? Now, let's say the ticket volume was spiked, or let's say the system was unstable. Let's say it's a critical situation. How would you, and let's say it's a stressful situation, and let's say multiple clients, multiple issues. How do you deal with stress in that kind of scenario? Medsite, I cannot hear you. Okay, we lost her again. We'll try to figure out what the technical problem is first. Okay, now people in the audience, right? Now you find what the challenge is when you have a person who is into tech support and who's having tech support issues or tech issues, right? Of course, during the interview you're also panicking, you don't have time to fix your issues, you want to jump on the call, right? Okay. Hey, MedSite, on the call, I want you to solve your tech issues. How do you solve it? You're having a lot of issues. Are you having more than one tab open, or only this one stream is open?
No, I switched to another browser. It's only one tab, which is funny. That's what I thought. I already did that.
Okay, which browser are you currently using?
Samsung. I'm using a Samsung. Earlier I was on Chrome. Chrome is quite
Gotcha.
memory intensive.
Okay.
Best thing would be to I tested this the link earlier. It was working fine before the call. Best thing would have been to restart the phone, but it's not the right time.
Okay, no issues. Okay. So the question is this: if you have multiple clients, and let's say in one day, let's say today you have multiple clients, multiple issues, and manager is screaming because so many calls are coming, what do you do in a stressful situation like that? Okay, again we lost it. Why those questions come is, there is no right or wrong answers in that, but the hiring manager will give you scenarios to see whether you have dealt or you have been in the similar kind of situation. They want to test whether you can keep your cool, whether you answer those questions, and how do you put yourself in the situation. Did you get my question?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, in this situation, first thing I will do is, from what I've learned before, is if I notice that it's like a massive issue, like an outage, I would first inform the manager, And then if the issue is and then next thing is to identify which team does the will be able to resolve, because usually in enterprises it's not only one IT team, it's there will be several IT teams. So next step will be to identify which team it is. And then not just how would I say, if it's another team, if I have to escalate the issue, I would not just send the ticket assigned to the other team. I would make sure like to also reach out to them and get a response. It's either like if it's virtual, either sending them a Teams message or giving them a Teams call. Or if we work in the office, I'll just go over and tell them in person. And then at the same, and then as well, then reply to the users. Just do the same reply to the users, meaning when they send on the ticketing system, reply on the same on the ticket that we are working on the issue, but however we don't have an ETA. We'll let them know as soon as possible. And if there is also an option to, how do I say, to post an announcement on, let's say, if it's on a website that the company is using, perhaps post an announcement that we have an issue, mention the issue, and that will provide an ETA once we know.
Okay. Now, in this scenario, I would have
Did you
liked to.
get my question? My reply?
Yes, yes, I got it. No, in this scenario, I would have liked you. Okay, let's wait for her to jump in. So I would have liked MedSite to answer based on giving me examples of a similar kind of instances. In the sense, okay, if she had given in Toyota, this was the situation that we had. This was the complexity. We used to have similar kind of. When you give a reference point, right, to the scenario, it makes it more meaningful. When you say that, yeah, okay, I have had much more complex scenarios where at in Toyota we were dealing with multiple clients at the same time, and we would be juggling with different kinds of issues. Or in the animation place that she mentioned, yeah, but said in this scenario, right? I would have liked if you had given me example of, you had mentioned that in Toyota this was the scenario that happened, in the animation sector this was the scenario that happened, and because of that I did this, and I was keeping cool even though it was a stressful situation, right? Giving reference to the challenge, um, in which environment you have done, it more meaningful, right?
Meaning, like I need to mention the company where I faced the issue. Is that what you mean?
Yes, yes, the company. What was the core issue? What are the steps that you took to solve that issue, and end result what it was?
Okay, noted.
Right? You don't need to give all company examples, but for that question, if you could pick up one instance where you had faced a similar kind of scenario, maybe at the animation place, or maybe at Hyundai, or maybe at the Toyota company where you work, where you have faced a similar challenging situation where you have multiple clients, that would add more value to your answer, right? Okay, let's move to the next question. Now the next question is, uh, now you mentioned that you worked also in security. It, in passing, you just mentioned you have worked in security. Now those are key areas or key technologies that every hiring manager is looking at. Even though in tech support, security might not be in demand, in the sense in this particular role it might not be. But when you mention security, when you mention Unix, when you mention mainframe, those are points that you need to highlight. If you have that security experience, you need to explain what has been that security experience. So the next question is on that. Um, Tell me a scenario, a real security or access issue that you handle end to end. Okay, we lost her again. The importance of having or take. Okay, let's see. She is come back. Yeah, Met said the question is,
Okay.
give me a real security or access issue that you handle end to end.
Okay, so I was in charge, for example, at yes, I was in charge of because this is being live recorded. I will not mention the name of the company, but in one company, I was in charge of Cisco ICE. So meaning this was security. So I had admin access, and I would, for example, if mailbox emails addresses are are blocked, meaning the users are expecting external emails from external users, but they would not receive. They would send us a ticket, and then since I have admin access, I will be going into Cisco ICE and search for the emails, and then not only release the emails, but also see why Cisco ICE flagged it as how they say, as a spam or blackmail, like a blackmail, and then investigate, and then whitelist either the email address, that particular email address, or whitelist the whole email domain.
Great. Okay. Always never forget about the result. You explain what the issue was, you explain the steps that you took. Most of us forget about, in the end, what was the result, what did you achieve, right? Always remember to highlight the result also. Okay, in any of the, apart from your tell me about yourself, all the other questions, remember to highlight what was the impact of your work, what did you do, what was the result, how did it benefit the company, the your manager, or how did it help you do your work better, right? Always highlight that. Okay, now the next question is in terms of, as a bilingual professional, right? Tell me about a time where a language or cultural context influence an IT issue. In the sense, where did the language help you in solving an issue? Now, how do you take control of the interview as a candidate? Now, the hiring manager or the recruiter has a set of questions that they want to ask you, but sometimes, or most of the times, what happens is the interview goes in a way where you have answered a set of questions and the interviewer has sub questions related to that. So how you answer or how you control that interview was also very important. Let's say the question was, as a bilingual professional, uh, tell me about a time where language or cultural context influenced an IT issue or a resolution. How did language help in solving an issue?
Okay, so I would say not really an IT issue, but I'll bring up one incident I had. So, like I mentioned earlier, because I worked in the automotive sector, I was also in charge of supporting the dealers. So I remembered I called a dealer in Quebec, and then I wasn't able to reach out to the user because I wanted to close. I had resolved the ticket and I wanted to close the ticket. I had to call because the dealer had actually called. He did not send an email, so that's why I had to call him back. So I could not. It was, I would say, around lunchtime. The person was out, and then his colleague told me to advise me that the person is out and to call back after dinner. The word that she used is the word, like literal translation to English is dinner. And I was like, at first I was not happy. I was like, I thought like, do these people expect us to work late into the evenings? But then I realized, because this is one I was, how would I say, my first interaction, I would say, with Quebec. Then I realized, I actually not realized, I remembered that in Quebec they use the word dinner for lunch. So this is what I would say. Like, even though you know the language, right? Even though
Yes.
I'm fluent in French, there are dialects which are a bit different from region to region. So it's luckily I'm a patient person, but At first, I had misunderstood what the dealer's colleague told me. So this is what I would say. Like, it's not only a language, but also culture is quite important to understand the cultural difference.
Okay, cool. So that is a very important aspect, right? Where you're using your benefit of language to solve a problem. Let's say if I was taking the call, and since I do not know French, I would have struggled to understand that, right? And let's say the conversation didn't go well, then obviously I wouldn't be able to address that issue well with the customer. The fact that you not only know the language but also were able to pick up nuances of the language and solve a problem for the client shows your grasp of the culture aspect of your clients, right? How do you understand the culture, how do you understand the business environment, and how you are able to solve that, right? Now, one aspect of interviewing is, do you have those instances ready, right? When you're looking at, so typically what I said, tell to in the candidates is, have instances ready where, write down where you have solved a problem, write down where you have used your team building or team activity or team engagement skills, write down where you have used continuous learning, project management, and stakeholder management. Write those 5 instances, right? So if you write those 5 instances where you have used those skills, and based on where the questions are coming, you can put those instances in any of the answers that you have. So you have those, so you're not thinking of the instances when you have an interview question. So when you write down those instances and you have memorized them before an interview, it is very easy for you to share those instances as whichever you can juggle it for whichever use that you have, right? Let's say you take 5 top skills for a particular role and write down those instances where you have previously done or have used those skills. That helps you in fitting those instances to the right situation. And Meta said, regardless of the technical issues, she was very quick to come up with those instances and answers. So she has prepared well for the interview process. Now, okay, the next question is, describe a situation where the client wanted a different solution. Let's say your management wanted a different solution. Let's say the team wanted a different solution. And how did you manage all that?
Okay. So, well, in these situations, how would I say it's yeah, not possible to make everyone happy. So first, I would yes, I would try to understand and see what how would I say with which team I align more, like in terms of my understanding. And then if let's say, for example, if it's the software developers who who I think that the solution that they're proposing is more aligned to the situation, then I will try to convince the manager about to go that way. However, if the manager thinks his or her way is the right way to do it, we yes, then there's then no choice but follow the manager's advice or what the manager asks. So, like I said, first I will be trying to understand the situation, and then I'll try to convince the manager. But at the end of the day, it's the manager who decides. Follow what the manager says.
Okay, good. But you would definitely try to understand the situation and also convince and put up your thoughts as to why you think it should be working in this way or doing it in that way, right? Okay, great.
Yes.
Right. So those are leadership qualities, right? When in a situation, in a particular situation where you have to raise up issues, or you have to bring up concerns that you have, regardless of how the manager feels. You have to bring those issues because you want them to, because you are dealing with the clients directly, right? And you want your manager to know what are your thoughts in that. Those are leadership skills where when an issue comes, you're not silent keeping those thoughts to yourself. You're raising those issues so that the management and the team knows as to what are the actual scenarios or concerns of the client. Great. Now, Metsite, in terms of challenges, right? What are the challenges that you're currently facing in getting a job?
Okay, so my main challenge is, like I mentioned, I have more than 15 years of experience in system administration and technical support. I'm looking more like for cybersecurity or network engineering. However, I have recruiters who reach out to me. I even had a one today reaching out to me on LinkedIn. They reach out directly, but they reach out to me based on my previous experience. So this is my. It's not that I don't have recruiters reaching out to me, but it's not the kind of work I want to do. I don't want to, go back to it. I want to apply what I've done practically in my master's degree. So this is my main challenge.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's say this is a challenge for the recruiter. Now, let's say you're applying for a security position, cyber security, or even any kind of security that is there, network security. Let's say network security is what you're applying for. Okay. Now, for network security roles, the minimum experience that they look for is at least 2 years of experience in network security. Okay. Now, you have touched upon security here and there. Okay. Now, the challenge for a recruiter to look at your profile, because you have 15 years of experience, they cannot directly transfer that to a network security role, right? So they will be looking at, okay, can this person come as a network analyst and then move to a network security role? If you directly apply because you have a master's in that particular role, the challenge is how strong are you in your security skills. So you need to highlight it from your resume. If it is not getting highlighted, of course the recruiter might look at your profile, but if there are no enough points to show that you are a very strong candidate in network security, that is going to be a challenge, right? So I was saying, let's say that if your profile doesn't have enough experience in network security, they might not be looking at you for a network security role.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so they will be looking at, okay, can we bring in this person as a network analyst, and within 6 months or 1 year, can she grow into a network security role?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, because just based on your masters, when you apply for a network security role, uh, because of many people in the market, they might have a challenge of saying that, okay, we have enough candidates with experience in network security, why will I give a chance to a person who is just starting out without any network security experience?
Yes, I understand. Yes, that's my challenge as
Yeah,
well.
so what do you want to highlight? So how do you highlight that? So you need to highlight in the conversation with the recruiter your unique skills, your that you have worked in mainframe, that you have worked in security and access, identity access management, that you have done some kind of automation or programming. Those are key things that you need to highlight, right? And on top of that, during your masters, what are the security aspects that you have learned? What aspects of security have you worked on? What are you currently working on? What are the latest security protocols that you're working on? Those you need to highlight that for a recruiter to give you a chance, right? So let's say I was telling that you need to highlight how you need to pick up 3 or 4 skills that might be very relevant to a network security role, and highlight that during your first conversation with the recruiter.
Okay.
Okay, and then you need to identify also those companies which can use your skill. Now let's say mainframe, right? Banks, insurance companies, wealth management companies which still have mainframe, if they are looking at mainframe plus security, if there is a shortage of skills there, that might be your target audience there, right? The other one is MSP companies, managed service providers. So let's say there's a very large telecom company. If they don't have so what they will do is they will outsource certain projects in terms of installation, conversion to cloud solutions, or upgrading security to a third party. So those companies are called MSPs, managed service providers. So you
Yes.
might need to target those managed service providers and find out, okay, I have 15 years of experience in support level 1, 2, and 3. I want to get into security. How do I get into security there?
Okay.
Because then they can use your level 2, level 3 experience also, and when by the time, and give you that opportunity to start working there. And when they know that you have enough expertise in the security domain also, they can push you into that particular field, right? So those are things that you need to look from a strategy point when you're looking at these new roles. You When you're looking at a role change, you always need to highlight what has been your experience in your current role, which is relevant to that. One, in terms of domain. Second, in terms of transferable skills, what transferable skills do I have in my current role that would benefit or may ensure that the hiring manager uh, can see the value in my profile. What transferable skills from my previous role can I bring to a security role or a different kind of role, right? Those are things that will definitely help your mid side,
Okay. Thank you.
right? Nice talking to you. Thank you for sharing your experience. I hope that you get more calls in terms of your profile and what roles are you looking at. And as we discussed, I will have a look at your resume. I'll look at some of the changes that you need to make, and we'll take it from there, Metsai.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you for being patient with me with my technical
Mm,
issues. Thank you
no
very
problem.
much.
No
Okay.
problem.